Hello everybody, welcome back to Sports Card Connections, where we're continuing our tour of the world through cards from all everywhere. And today we're in Australia, where we're going to review some cards from various eras for 5 different sports. We're going to start with soccer, and we only have a few cards, but these are from 2015. The company is Tap and Play. Here's an idea what they look like. These are the Western Sydney Wanderers. This is their goalie, Andrew Redmayne. Try to get some focusing going here. And they're nice design, glossy for people who like that. Apparently this thing wants to get trouble again. Okay, so you got stats on the back, copyright at the bottom. We have Mark Bridge. And this set also comes with logo cards and some stats on the team where they play. So it's a nice set. Each team featured with this type of a setup with the players and the logos and things. That's for the A-League, the Australian A-League, which has increased in popularity with Australia's appearances in the World Cup over the last few World Cups. So from soccer, we'll put these up, and soccer will move to baseball. Now, baseball in Australia is not real big, but they've put some people in the major leagues. So we'll take a look at some sets from the Australian Baseball League, which of course we call a winter league because it's during the winter up here and players go down there and play. But actually, of course, it's a summer league for them. These cards are put out by Futera, so one of the biggest Australian card makers. And this is the Sydney Metros. These are from like 1990. Notice the similarity to the New York Mets uniform and the name. They had an affiliation with the Mets. A lot of the Australian teams did, where they would send prospects down there to play while it was winter up here. So in this set, I only know of 2 teams, Sydney and the Perth Heat. Dean Moyle, he was actually, I think he or his brother played in the Indian system. The uniforms are hauntingly familiar to the Astros fans of the 1970s. So these sets, usually you'll find them in a team set. This is what the back looks like. And they quickly got their cards to a little more advanced look as we go to 1990, the next year, like 90-91. Here's Dino Ebel, who has been a coach with the Angels and the Dodgers. He's currently with the Dodgers, I believe. This was him playing for the Adelaide Giants. We have Chip Duncan, Parramatta Patriots. Also have cards of him in Taiwan. He was a minor league pitcher mostly in the U.S. Backs. Very nicely done. Stats from the season before, whatever they had done. So a lot of future major leaguers played down there. Here is Troy O'Leary, future Brewers outfielder with the Daikyo Dolphins. Next we'll see a 1993 look. The font is extremely hard to read. The Melbourne Bushrangers. This is John Coleman, a Yankees minor leaguer. As you can see, it's just the name of the player, especially on the front of the card, is hard to read. But the stats and the information on the back are very good. So they did a good job that way. Their sets tended to become very similar looking. The Sydney Blues here had an affiliation with the Toronto Blue Jays. Lionel Roberts here. Very early to mid 90-ish look for cards. And then the next season, the 95, actually, we find Dave Nilsson, the longtime Major League star, and probably the most famous Australian to play in the majors. Eventually, he actually bought the Australian League. I don't know if he still owns it. He is here with the Waverley Reds, and he would play each off-season. He had some siblings that played as well. So that gives you an idea what you can look for in baseball. Relatively new stuff, 1990s or newer. Now, Australia, other than soccer, has 2 big football games that are very popular. One is rugby and one is Australian rules football. So we'll switch to rugby. And we're going to go to Scanlon's Gum. Now, Scanlon's had a long-time affiliation with Topps, as you can tell by the design. This is the 1968 American football and Canadian football set. It's also 1969 Scottish and English soccer. And it's also 1969 Australian rules and Australian rugby. It's the most used design of any of Topps' design by some of its affiliates. You have Mick Maher here of the North Sydney Bears. Now, they tended to have puzzle backs or a picture of the grand final championship game from the year before, as you can see here. And you get enough of the cards, you'd form a whole picture. Card numbers on the front. Just 1969. We're going to bounce around in years. Here we go to 1981. Canterbury Bulldogs. What's missing, as you can tell, is the player's name. This set has, obviously on the front, number 38 of 168. So you've got all that information, but the player's name's on the back. Mark Hughes, his position, birth date, etc., a little bio, his lifetime stats. So this is Scanlon's logo, the little boy and girl. So that's 1981. By the late 80s, it had switched to Stimorol gum. Don't quote me, but I think that's a brand of Scanlon's or another version of Scanlon's. Anyways, this is the look for 1988. Dale Shearer, Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. So it's the pink one, front and back. And as you can tell, there's not much on the back. The Stimorol, the sportsman's gum. Take a look at another one. Steve Roach of the Balmain Tigers. The diagonal photos can be a little unsettling. Looks like the ground's tilted. He has a little more right up. And of course, again, they'll tell you number of cards and what number this particular card is in the whole set. 1989 went to blue. Jeff Tuvey again of Manly Warringah. And so we didn't get the diagonal. We got the cutout looking photos, which again kind of play with your eyes. But you definitely know what card it is, 50 of 156. I bought a collection from the late 80s from a guy in Uruguay, of all places, that they were well loved, to say the least. Now, the 1989, the logo cards are in red. Here's the Penrith Panthers. When you see by the back, it is the blue set. And they get a history of the team and their record. So you get each team done like this. We go to 1990, and there's the logo card, Balmain Tigers, card number 11 of 156. These have the red backs. Gives you the coach, it gives you the one-loss record. As these are, it's a very basic set, but it gives you, you get a set like this, and you know the teams, you know a lot of the starting players. The regular set, though, is not green. It's this purpley color. Kerrod Walters, Brisbane Broncos. And again, on the back, though, we have more about the team than we do about the players. That brings us to 1991. Which was the red set. Here we have Glenn Lydiard, Parramatta Eels. Got to get the focus to fix. So another thing you'll notice on the Scanlon / Stimorol cards is this place for an autograph on the front. This one does present a little more on the back, more of a write-up. And info about the player. And then here's Paul Shaw, Gold Coast Seagulls. Of course, we have the league logo, team logo. Number of cards right in the middle, 146 out of 210. So they expanded in 1991. Now we're going to jump, actually 20 years. And we'll see the Futera is now making a brand called Select. And so Select has the X look to it. There's like 11, 12 players per team plus a logo card. And this is the Canberra Raiders, Joel Thompson. So you have the foil. This set is called, Strike. The brand is Futera Select. This is Strike. They also have like a Dynasty. And you get a good write-up on a player on the back. This set, as I said, included logos. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, team that I support. And they're kind of a legendary team in Australia. There's their championships for all those years. This is an unusual name for a team and logo. Here's one of their players, Roy Asotasi. So Futera will list, just like what Topps does, up here there's numerous brands maybe produced in a year. Generally, since they're doing rugby, or at least at this time they were doing rugby and Australian rules, you might have the same brands for each of the two games. 2012, here's the more basic set. Albert Kelly of the Cronulla Sharks. Come on, try the back. There we go. And again, you have some good information, all the logos and licensing at the bottom. 11, 12 players per team. This is the standard select. Here we have another one, Dave Taylor of the Rabbitohs. I would not want to be hit by this guy coming down the field. There we go. And then we have the Dynasty brand. You can see the difference, and frankly, it's not much, but it doesn't necessarily have the same players either. This is Greg Inglis of the Rabbitohs as well, and back's a little different, but not much. So the sets seem very similar. Kind of wonder what the thing was with calling them two different brands, but nevertheless, that's what they did. So that takes care of rugby. We are now going to switch to Australian rules football, or as they call it, Aussie rules. Get the baseball and the rugby up there. Okay, Aussie rules goes way, way back. Cards go back to the late 1880s. And there are old judge cards, just like there were baseball here, of Australian rules football. They are very expensive. No, I don't have any, so we won't be seeing those. But the oldest ones I do have are 1967. And we'll take a look, and you see immediately, your American cards, that the TV look is 1966 Topps football, 1966 hockey. And again, Scanlon's has, of course, this relationship with Topps. So Topps did a lot of the designs for them. This is Max Pitt of the Collingwood Magpies. We do have, again, the puzzle back, the Scanlon's logo, and then a picture of a game. Well loved are the few I managed to come up with. They are not cheap. Card number on the front. Here we have a combo card from the Fitzroy Lions. John Newnham and Wayne Eastman. One thing about some of these Scanlon's Aussie Rules cards, you'll notice the pictures are taken like at dusk. I'm not sure why. Obviously, it's training camp or practice or something by the location out in the middle of nowhere. See, again, it was about the grand final from 1966 on the back. But, yeah, so why did they have to wait till the end of the day? I don't know. We have one more from 1967, John Abrahams of North Melbourne, again at dark. And, yeah, well loved. But you get what you can get. Part of the crowd from that big picture. Moving on, we come to 1974, and you might notice very similar to 1973 American football with the ribbon stripe thing on over here, the square picture. So here's Trevor Keogh of the Carlton Blues, one of the old clubs in Australia. Notice the uniform, CFC, Carlton Football Club. It's got his info there. And on the back, we have something about the player, not a puzzle this time. At this point, it was still VFL, Victoria Football League, not AFL, Australian Football League, as it is now. So that's 1974. 1975 looks very similar. But the difference, we have the football-shaped team colors in the bottom left rather than the ribbon. So, other than that, and some changes around on the font, but not much. So this is 1975, Robert McGee of the Richmond Tigers. As you see again, Scanlon's penchant for putting the card number and the total set number on the front. You do have kind of a scratch-off thing on the back. Magic Football Quiz. 1976, not much of a change. But again, you have your nighttime photo. You borrowed elements from the 1969 thing at the bottom there, and then the square look of the last 2 years. So we have Gareth Andrews, Richmond Tigers, and Brian Walsh, Essendon Bombers, again nighttime. The backs, puzzle. I guess this was the sky. So that's 76. 1977, they did change it up. You have a blue border. George Young of the St. Kilda Saints. But they're still taking their photos in the dark. I don't know why. We do have a little thing at the bottom with team colors. And the set size and card number here. The backs, though, we now have football hints on how to play better. 1978, they dropped way back to 1967 American football for the look. The 67 Topps AFL set, very, very similar. So we have Maurice O'Keefe, St. Kilda. Again, there's your card set and size. And we have Peter Keenan, North Melbourne. Now, the backs here, again, yeah, you take what you can get. That was ripped out of an album. But the puzzle pieces are in color. Some years they're black and white. So that's 1978. We jump to 1981, and we find the same issue that you had with rugby. So notice we have the league logo in the bottom left. Team name, they're basically almost the exact same set. No name on the front. Except you get yellow with rugby, you get blue with Aussie Rules, Mark Lee of the Richmond Tigers. So they didn't have to do much to produce the two sets as far as design work. You already had it. There you go. Now, when they switched to Stimorol, they did the same thing. We jump to 1990, and you'll see that you have the same situation going on that you had 1990 in rugby. The purpley set. Hawthorne Hawks, Gary Ayres, number 2 of 168. Again, that spot for autograph. The backs are the same as the rugby. So you jump 20 years, and now you have Futera involved, and here's this is called Ultra, Select Ultra. So we've got Wade Skipper, and this is the Western Bulldogs. So it's rather an off-white front. On the back, very typical 1990s card. Notice now it's not VFL anymore, it's the AFL. And I have a nice write-up. Typical Futera, nice cards, standard cards, very nice to collect, very colorful, and they'll give you the whole league. Another another manufacturer entered by, well, before I do that one, let's stick with the others. So like that's 2003. Here's 2011. Now you can see really, just like the 2011 rugby, very similar. Here you got Liam Shields, which is hard to see his name. It's in foil. And he's for the Hawthorne Hawks. 11 to 12 players per team, just like what you had with rugby. And very colorful. Same basic designs on the back, the same basic information. So this is their Ultra brand of Select. And now we'll take a look at the new company that jumped in. These are 2016. This is Team Coach. Now, this is the Sydney Swans. That's Adam Goods. You can see at the bottom, you have stats and the year. Well, that's not the year because these are, it says 2011, but I have written down 2016. So that's a problem. One of these isn't right, and I'm sure it's me. So either way, Team Coach came out with these cards, which are for a lot of you that like the bright and shiny. Adam Goods had a great career. He has become kind of a flashpoint in Australia for the racist issue. He is of Aboriginal origin. And during one game, and I've seen the film, a young lady about 12, 13 years old, when he was down near the end, past the goalpost, retrieving a ball, she called him a name. He heard it, and actually the whole game stopped. He pointed to the girl, and the referee stopped it, and the ushers came and removed her. Well, it made national news, and eventually she had a phone call with him where she apologized. But he said there was also some attitudes amongst the Sydney Swans. He's now retired, but they've invited him back for various things. He has not been interested at this point. And so hopefully that gets worked out. Goods handled this situation with the young lady very well, I thought. Gave extensive interviews about it. He said he felt very sorry for her because he said she's just a kid, but somebody taught her that stuff. And anyways, Goods was a great player for Sydney. And he's card number 158. That's what Team Coach looked like. Now we're going to switch to our final sport. If I don't bang everything around. So we'll put these up. Our final sport is cricket. And cricket has a very, very long history in Australia and is extremely popular. Currently they have their Big Bash League, which is well known. We're doing some older stuff. I don't have any Big Bash cards, which has the women's and men's teams for the league. These are some classics. So let's take a look. We'll start in 1903. We'll start with J.J. Kelly, wicket-keeper. We can get the focus back in. Or not. These are put out by Will's Tobacco, card number 12. Okay, he was a national team member for Australia. And I've seen the original picture. This picture actually appears in a lot of card sets, or a variation thereof. So, yeah, it's rough, but it's a lot of years old. It's 119 years old. Next, we'll move to 1907. 1907, we have Joe Darling with his full regalia on, the Australian national cap and jacket. Of course, you don't play in that. This is for the photo. And this set was issued, it says Australian and English cricketers for Capstan Tobacco. This set is quite popular. 115 years old. We have two cards from here. Also, we have Leonard Garnsey. Again, with the jacket and cap. 1907. We'll move to 1909, a very ornate set, not colorized, black and white photos. This is Gilbert Jessup. Google Gilbert Jessup, go to Wikipedia. He's considered perhaps the greatest batsman in cricket history. And that's saying something with some of the big names. Obviously, the card is pretty bad, but hey, it's 1909. So the border are actually, they're red or blue with the ornate scroll work. Backs give you, it's basically advertising. And apparently, there we go, it's a little better. Nothing about the player or anything, just the front. Gilbert Jessup, an all-time great. Really happy to get that. Cards these older cards can be had in Australia, not for crazy money, but some of them get up there, but not really. You can still, especially if you're willing to take lesser condition. Some of the greats of the game. Next we'll jump up to 1928. This is Archie Jackson. And Archie was a great, great player, and it's hard to say when he was so young. But he's only 18 on this card, playing for New South Wales, of course, also playing for Australia. And he was just considered a pure hitter. But he actually collapsed on the field, coughing up blood. He thought he had the flu. It turned out to be tuberculosis. And so he was installed in what they used to call a sanatorium. And he ignored doctor's advice and got out and left and moved closer to his girl, who became his fiancée, and tried to play some more. And he did play for a local team, but he had to miss the English tour of 1932, and he actually died at the age of 23 in 1933. By the time they were really treating him, it was too advanced. It's a tragic case. I'm really happy to have a card of Archie Jackson. Such a young guy with such a great future. But his funeral was rather a big affair in Australia because he was really well respected. Actually born in Scotland, family immigrated to Australia. We'll move up to 1932 for the Sweet Acres Gum set. Now this was issued in conjunction, as a number of sets were, with the English tour of Australia at the time. So it's a test match, as they call these long series that they will play. And so here's your card number, tells you who he plays with and everything like this. This is Roy Lonergan, ready to bat. Sweet Acres Gum, you can find these cards. They tend to be rough, but hey. Next, maybe the greatest cricketer of all time, Donald Bradman, Sir Donald. Also in the set, I have a well-loved version, as you can see. And he was considered very unorthodox in his style. But really good condition cards of his can go for a lot. I was shocked to get this one for what I got it for, which was like $2. So Bradman appears on a number of cards. He played a long, long time. Now that's not coming off. So there we go. I do have one English card issued of Bradman when Australia returned the favor and toured England. Now these sets would include the Australian and English players. This is Bill Bowes, and he's English. So let's take a look here. Test cricketers, as you can see, well, there we go. Plays for Yorkshire, the county of Yorkshire in England, and it mentions that he was added to the tour at the last second. It's again a tobacco issue. After retirement, he became a well-known sports writer in England. So there's Bill Bowes. We have a 1936. This is Len Darling. This set is Allen's, and Allen's tends to have a number of different ads on the back. Cure 'em quick, stop that tickling cough, etc. So he played for Victoria, as you see his county that he played for, and then of course for Australia in the tour. So these are some historical cricket cards. We have just a couple more recent ones from the 90s. As you can see, here's Futera again. Yes, they also do cricket. And we have Mark Waugh here of New South Wales. These are 1994. And then we have 1995 with Jamie Cox. There's a lot of more cricket cards and types available. This is just an overview of some of the things from Australia that are available. So you got 5 major team sports that the Australians play that have cards and that are available. Let's see if we can get those. Yeah, there we go, close enough. So that's an overview of what you can get in Australia. Australian rules, rugby, cricket, baseball, soccer. And that's just scratching the surface. It's a fascinating country to collect. Lots of interesting cards. You had affiliations with tops. You got cards going back to the 1800s. So it's very similar to here. And this video is of special interest to a young friend of ours named Kimberly. Kimberly, I hope you enjoyed seeing some cards from Australia. I know you're a big Australian fan. Your dad told me. So we hope you like it. And next we head to East Asia, China, Korea, and Taiwan. So thanks for watching. Bye.